It's the Golden Road, a radio hour. Well, bridging the past with today for a better tomorrow.
Golden Road Radio Hour explores the intersection of arts, environment, culture, health, peace, justice, science, and technology, paving the road for positive social change.
It's the Golden Road.
We're really happy to have on the show. He's become a great friend, and him and his partner Dara, who was up here getting y'all moving before, published a publication called The Lotus Guide. It's online, it's printed, and it's a directory for healthy living. Put your hands together as we welcome to the show Rahasya.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Where's your suntan? What do you?
Tell me about it, man. Oh yeah, I don't get out much nowadays.
So for folks who aren't familiar with Lotus Guide, which is hard to believe because everywhere you go, there's stacks of papers. I see them in Nevada County, I see them in Auburn, I see them in the Sierras. Everywhere I go, I see this amazing publication. What got you inspired to do this vision and to create the Lotus Guide?
Well, actually, when Dara and I moved here about 14 years ago, she does palm reading and massage, and we couldn't find a decent place to put an ad in. So we had just enough money for one issue. So we had that, and that's why the first issue has some big ads for her. And we thought, well, if nothing else, we're making brochures, you know. But boy, I tell you, this community really took off, and half of the advertisers that we had in the first issue are still with us today. Wow. Every single issue.
Wow. And you also put on holistic fairs and expos.
Holistic fairs, and now I'm going to start a radio show called Spiritual Activist, which is a nonprofit, and that's going to be about looking at world problems in a spiritual context, which means there are spiritual conscious answers, because we're never going to come up with the answers from all the chaos. We're going to have to come to a different level of understanding.
And it really takes a collaborative effort, like what you do with the magazine or the show, or people getting together and think tanking, sharing ideas, the way we used to do it in the good old days, right? We all met in the common, the middle of a town or a plaza. We got together, it was family friendly, we had our kids, and we shared ideas. Unfortunately, I know a lot of technology, as much as it's brought in the world together, has also separated us. I literally walked through an airport the other day. I saw 2,000 people, maybe over the period of an hour. I think I made eye contact with maybe 2 people that whole time. So obviously, media is a great way to reach people, and I know you're committed to doing that. So what are some of the stories, if I open up Lotus Guide, that people can see?
Well, in this one we have an article by Joe Dispenza, and if we have time I'll touch on that. It's about the placebo effect. I wrote an article called Walking on the Razor's Edge, and that's about this precarious path that we walk in the middle of polarities. Because on the one side we have broken governments, financial institutions, all of the Monsanto vaccinations.
I don't know if the government's that broke. As far as I can tell, they're doing pretty good on Wall Street right now.
Actually, that's a good point. They're not broken. It's working exactly as they planned. You know, this is the weird part. And the same thing with the Ponzi scheme called our financial institutions. They planned this.
Right.
You know, 80, 90 years ago they planned this. So it's actually working in their favor exactly as they planned. But that's the chaos. And I recognize if you get involved in that, it'll suck you in. And you cannot beat it from that level. They have the game locked up.
Right.
Okay? Then you have the other side, the spiritual people, the meditators, and the people that really compassionate, empathetic, and they really want to do good. But I've noticed there that there's so many people that have their eyes closed. They're not taking action. And what happens is once in a while they get hit by the other side, then they react. Right. And then all their spirituality seems to crumble away. Right. So this walking on the razor's edge, it's an old saying amongst spiritual people. You can call it the middle path. You know, Rumi says there's a field beyond wrongdoing and right doing. I'll meet you there. All of the great masters talk about the fact that you have to walk this other path. And I think something is happening to me personally as I do this. And I guess the best way to explain it is there's a transformation that happens. When I was 7, I was learning how to ride a bicycle. And I was doing it with my left brain. My dad would push me down the road and I would fall to the right. And it doesn't take too long for your left brain to figure out, oh, I start falling to the right, I got to jerk it back to the left. And this went on for several days until one magic moment. He pushed me down and I was getting ready to fall and I didn't fall. Something happened. There was a body-mind locking in. And I recognized this is really strange because what was inevitable before falling has now become impossible. And it always struck me that those neural connections happened instantaneously by me holding my balance.
And it's interesting you bring that up. I'm a drummer, and I do a lot with music therapy, and one of the concepts of music therapy is called entrainment. Most of us tend to be right or left brain based, but when we play music, specifically with drumming, left, right hand too, what happens is the creative side of the brain actually fuses and starts communicating with the mathematical and the analytical. So something happens where we actually enter into a higher state of mental awareness, alertness, and we actually can develop a lot of the abilities that have been laying dormant when we're actually balanced, like you said, on this middle path of left and right hemisphere in collaboration.
Yeah, and I would like to suggest that I think what is happening, if we really focus on this, instead of a body-mind overlapping, I think we're heading for a spirit mind, another level of consciousness. And we're going to find ourselves living in a world of balance and creativity and being able to manifest. And we're going to look back and not really realize how that happened. It's a magical moment. And I can feel it arising in me. Little by little, I get less involved in the chaos. I see it because we have to deal with it, you know. And over here we have the people that really mean to do good, but they have to come up here and start being proactive.
Right.
We're living in a time where taking personal responsibility, if we don't do this, we're done. Because if we keep heading, I just interviewed Bruce Lipton, and he said if we keep heading the way we're heading, we're done.
Just the impact on the environment
alone.
alone.
It's not going to work. You can take any facet of our society right now, the finances, the military, the government, the educational system. All we're doing is educating kids to be consumers and followers and to learn data. If they can learn a bunch of data and answer all the questions right, they get an A. That's not education. You know, we have to be really working on our consciousness because, like Einstein said, we're never going to come up with the solutions from the same level that created the problems, ever. And we don't have to be a genius to figure this out.
And creativity is more important than knowledge.
Absolutely.
Right.
And this is what they try to crush. You know, the schools take out the arts and crafts, they take out the physical ed. And I hate to sound like a conspiracy guy, but actually, when there's 2 or more people thinking about doing something in secret, which they are, that's a conspiracy. And did you know the conspiracy theory, that label was created by the CIA?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's the
they're listening right now on all of our iPhones.
That's the biggest conspiracy of all, the idea that it's a conspiracy theory.
Right. So let's do this. We have another moment left because we have Shabumi's ready to play, and then we're going to get you all up moving your bodies. We have Richard Burrell, who's going to come up and share a little bit about Ishi, the story of Ishi. It's an amazing story based in this area of the Sierra Nevadas. But before we have Shabumi out, so I want to also thank Rahasya because they've been very kind with the Lotus Guide by giving us the back page in support of the Golden Road because, again, being people in independent media and trying to give the community a voice, he's been very supportive. So he is really one of our supporters along with the other people you see below. Forever Enlightened Bookshop in Auburn, also General Gomez Gallery. They had hosted us last week where we did a similar event in a beautiful art gallery. So we're considering doing a late summer tour of art galleries so that people can come in and see art and also enjoy the show. And also New Dawn Gluten-Free Bakery in Auburn. So people are really stepping up to the plate and saying, hey, I'm really really busy, but I would like to support. So in the moment we have left, words of wisdom of how we can look out there to people who are watching and activate them and inspire them to help be part of this change.
I think one of the things that's happening, and this is hard facts, science, and everything else, it's we have an article by Joe Dispenza, and it's called the placebo effect. And what they're recognizing, and they've done hundreds of research projects to validate this. We've always thought that if you take a placebo, you have to think it's real for it to work, right? But that's not the case. They're finding out that you can give a person a placebo pill and tell them it's a placebo, and it still works. And the pharmaceutical companies are saying that the placebo effect is 80% as effective, I think it's more, than the real thing, except with no side effects. So this is telling me that all of our minds are getting stronger, we're getting well connected with spirit and consciousness, and we have a window, but that window is going like this. So we really need to focus and concentrate and do everything we can to be in the moment and conscious, and support programs like this and shows like this.
And I know I've heard the term quantum entanglement, because somehow our thoughts, our feelings, our visions, our intentions create reality, and also reality affects all of us. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Nothing is definitive and carved in stone until the moment that it actually happens. I've heard Barbara Marx Hubbard, Bruce Lipton, and many others, Greg Braden, all speak about this quantum entanglement. Right now, we are co-creating the future. And again, that's the whole motto of when we created this show, bridging the past with today for a better tomorrow. And there's no more fertile ground than here in Northern California, where we have such a rich history, such a great diversity of people, environment, and people who are active every day to help educate and share their knowledge. So Rahasya, we could sit here for hours, and he also comes a lot on the show, and actually we'll talk about a lot of these subjects. We just spoke recently about the effects of smart meters and EMFs on the body. But we have a very small amount of time, and I know it's time for some music because we've been talking for a while. So thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
And Dara Lemos too. Nice round of applause for Rahasya and Lotus Guide.